What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to EP09. Alright, so we have some updates after day one of the Arnold Classic Ohio, and I wanted to start this one off with an update from Wesley Vissers, your new Classic Physique champion of the Arnold Classic, in one of the biggest upsets that we've seen in any division in recent history. Wesley showed up and took home a very commanding victory over Ramon Dino. Now, this HD footage is courtesy of Gilco Productions. Huge shout out to those guys. They're killing it again this year with the coverage. And look, this shows just how good Wesley really was on that stage. His superior conditioning, dominance through the upper body, extreme width from the back, and really deep cuts in the quads is really what gained Wesley a victory here. And this was a very decisive victory. I posted up this poll on my community tab just after prejudging, and the results were overwhelmingly in Wesley's favor. And you know, as good as Wesley was, the fact of the matter is that both Ramon and Urs were, honestly, they were way off in this show. Ramon still really needs to work on his posing overall, but, you know, even aside from his presentation, he was just lacking detail in the lower body. He looked, I think, really flat, just overall. And he was clearly beat from the back, I think by pretty much everyone but Urs in that first call-out. So this has to be a pretty big shock for a guy like Ramon Dino. He's always finished second behind Chris Bumstead in recent years. He's the former Arnold Classic champion, and he was just defeated by a guy that was 5 places lower than him at the 2023 Olympia. So there's definitely improvements that Ramon needs to make. We'll see what he does with this second place finish, and you know, we might see him at the Arnold UK. I'm honestly not sure about that, but like I said, Ramon was not the only one that was off in this lineup. Urs Kalecinski, who ended up taking 3rd place here, a controversial 3rd place at that, we'll get to that in a minute, he was especially off as compared to what we usually see from him. His calling card was always conditioning. He was starting to post more updates within the last week of the show, and everyone out there seemed to agree, at the very least, if Urs has made no other improvements since the Olympia, that we will see those feathered quads and shredded lower half from the back. And you know, going into the show, he definitely had that. And honestly, after watching the HD footage, I think Urs did have better conditioning than what the live stream had us believe. But even still, something I think did go wrong in the final 24 hours going into the show. Was the feathering in the quads as exemplary as we've seen from him in the past? No, he definitely did not have those deep separated lines that we've come to expect from him. He still lacks overall size in the upper body as well. You know, the arms, shoulders, chest, and back still need to come up. But like I said, he was better than the live stream had us come to believe. However, with that being said, Breon Ansley absolutely nailed it at this year's Arnold Classic. He did have all those little details that Urs really lacked. The striations through the upper body, the deep separation in the quads, the dugout hamstrings, and the back. Man, Breon hands down won the back double bicep last night, without a doubt. He nailed his peak, he brought that fullness along with it, and I would say this is the best version of Breon Ansley that we've seen on a bodybuilding stage in probably a number of years. So with all that being considered, I do think that Breon deserved 3rd place over Urs. I honestly wouldn't have disagreed if Breon took 2nd over Ramon Dino. Now, make no mistake, he was definitely that good. So that was really the only controversial decision I could see in the show so far, but you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Was Breon Ansley actually robbed out of a 3rd place finish? Would you have put him even in 2nd place over Ramon Dino? But at the end of the day, again, huge shout out to Wesley Vissers. Congratulations on the victory, and you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, moving into the open division after the men's open prejudging, there's a couple of key points I wanted to touch on here. Look, pretty much everyone in this lineup brought their best to the stage, and we had a very competitive second call-out. It did end up being a battle between Samson and Hadi for 1st and 2nd, as we all expected, but the one thing that I did not expect, and I'm going to start out with this, was that not only was HorseMD in the last call-out, but he was honestly battling for 2nd last place in that call-out. Something went drastically wrong with HorseMD at this show. I was shocked, you guys. He lacked any kind of detail. He looked extremely washed out overall. He had no pop to the muscle, and his midsection really did not look aesthetic, you guys. Considering the vast majority of the bodybuilding world had Horse in the top 3 at this show, and most people did, he really did miss the mark here. Now, we do know full well that he can be better than what we're seeing here. He was better not only months ago at the Romania Pro, and this is only his second pro show ever, so he still has a lot of time to figure out his peak and to make improvements. Is there really much that he can do between prejudging and finals? I think at this point, probably not. But of course, this is not the last time that we will see Marcelo De Angelis. He's a young guy with a lot of potential, and there's not a pro out there on the scene that hasn't missed the mark at some point in their career. So we'll see what kind of improvements he can make before the finals, but look, we won't count him out just for one bad showing. Now, I don't want this to be an overly long video, so I'm just going to touch on the top 2 here before we wrap things up before the finals. I'll give you guys my full thoughts on like James and Rafael, Antoine, and everyone else in my finals wrap-up video, but this was an extremely exciting battle between Hadi and Samson. And the big takeaway from the prejudging is that Hadi absolutely showed up in easily the best shape that we've seen from him since the 2019 Vancouver Pro. That's always been the standard. He had massive quads, great separation in the quads. He definitely did some work on the midsection control since the Olympia. He had great balance from top to bottom. Tons of detail from the back. You know, the reaction out there is that it's fairly unanimous. After prejudging, it looks like Hadi looks to be ahead of our former champion, Samson Dauda. Now, Samson showed up, I think, at least as good as he was at last year's Arnold, but I think he was maybe lacking a little bit of detail than what we saw even at the Prague Pro only a couple of short months ago. It's not so much that Samson missed the mark here, because I do think that he was at, the 97% mark here compared to his best, but I think it's more so that Hadi was just so on more than anything else. From the front, I think Hadi had more detail, a better vacuum even. He looked like he had a superior X-frame. From the side, again, I think that Hadi had more detail. His obliques were absolutely shredded, you guys. And although Samson may have been defeating him on thickness and maybe overall flow from the side, Hadi just had that undeniable level of conditioning. And I think he did look more aesthetic here than he really was in any other showing. From the back, I think Hadi won the back double and the back lat spread. And the most muscular, of course, went to Hadi. Now, with all of that being said, is this a surefire victory for Hadi Chupin? Now, I absolutely cannot say that it's a surefire victory. Samson can definitely make improvements before the finals, and you know that he's going to have an absolutely dynamite posing routine. And Hadi, on the other hand, is really not known for his posing routines. This is the Arnold Classic, and posing does count for a lot. But look, let me know who you guys have winning the show after prejudging, and stay tuned for finals tonight. I'll be going live again tonight to give you guys the full breakdown, and thanks everyone who tuned in there yesterday. You guys have been awesome, and I'll see you tonight for the Arnold Classic finals in the Men's Open division. Anyway, that's it for me in this video, you guys. Thank you for tuning into EP09. Be sure to like and subscribe.